Hey everyone. Today it's been a little bit that we've had like some hail. I don't actually, there's another technical term for it, but it's kind of like hail. And it's a colder day just before we're supposed to get into 70-degree weather later next week. So I'm in this in-between zone. I was hoping this weekend that I'd be taking all my tomatoes and peppers out of the basement nursery and into the greenhouse, but the temperatures tonight are supposed to get down to like 32 degrees, and so it'll be warmer in the greenhouse, but still not ideal for the tomatoes. So maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll be able to do it tomorrow, and in preparation for kind of the 70-degree weather happening later in the week. So what I'm doing now is just getting ready to do another round of seeds of kind of the stuff that grows fast that you can do multiple rounds of. So some lettuce, maybe radishes, yeah, maybe some bok choy or something like that is what I'm thinking. And then beyond that, it's time for me to plant from seed all the squashes and the melons and the both summer and winter squash, zucchinis, things of that nature. So I'm going to be doing that in the basement nursery. But I've moved all my potting soil preparation out here into the potting bench area. And so what I'm doing down below here is I'm preparing a tub which I'm going to mix. It's some potting soil that I get in bulk delivered by the unit from Grimm's Fuel, and I think the stuff's pretty good. I like it. It doesn't have, I don't think it has peat in it, and that's environmentally more friendly, but I'd actually like to mix some peat into it. I know peat's not considered to be the best thing environmentally, but I've heard some mixed stories on that as well, that that we're here in North America and our peat's coming mainly from Canada, which is different than if you're in Europe and where the peat comes from there. But setting that aside, I don't really know. Setting that aside, what I am for sure mixing with this, I don't even have any peat on me, but what I'm for sure mixing with this is some perlite for drainage purposes, and then just some fertilizer. So it's kind of like making my own Miracle-Gro mix. It's cheaper than buying bags of Miracle-Gro that way. So I'm making up that mix so I can then take that tub down to the basement and pot up a bunch of stuff. So that's what I'm up to here. So my Dino Kale from last year is getting kind of scraggly here, and I had to look this up because I was curious. I noticed that kale kind of will last for a while in my garden. I hadn't really kept a lot of track of how long it will last, and I was like, well, will this kale just be perennial? Will it last forever if it otherwise is treated well and survives? But what I found in just using Google is that most kale, according to Google, is a 2-year cycle, and the first year is kind of the leaf cycle where you're getting a lot of leaves, and then the second year is when it starts to flower up. And sure enough, that's what we're seeing here, is with the kind of scraggly kale that I have behind me here. This was planted and last spring of 2020, and it leafed out last year, and this year it is producing these little flower stalks, which I'm cutting, and is good eating. We like them actually, but they're getting towards the end of what they're going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out now so that I have room to put in new plants, because I'm going to run out of space out here at some point with all the seedlings that I like to grow. I do have some newer kale that was planted more like late summer last year, intending to be fall, and so it's leafing right now, and so I guess technically we're still in the first year of that, so I'll show you that here. Yeah, so those are my kale notes from the garden. I'll see you all later. Hey, well, it's a beautiful day out here. We had a late frost last night, and then it's looking like we're gonna have dry and warmer weather even up until next weekend, all the way into the high 70s, maybe even an 80-degree day. So, and then it'll kind of get back down to like high 60s for the following week, which is more normal for April here in Portland, where we're gardening. And yeah, what I'm working on today behind me here in the sink is tomato plants, and I thought I would tell you a little bit about some of my favorite tomato plants that we grow here. Also, while you have this view, I want to mention my mirror back there. My wife was harassing me, maybe too strong of a word, but just because she helped pick out the mirror, but really questioning why would I need a mirror out here. And I just had a sense that I liked it. And then now that it's hung up, I have to say that I really do like it out here. And one of the reasons is that if I'm facing the wall there doing the washing something or watering a plant or doing something there in the outdoor sink that we've created, it gives me a great view of the garden that's out here. And so it makes me feel like I'm still in the garden and looking at it, even though I'm facing the shed wall when I'm working over there. So I think the mirror is a great addition. Anyway, that's my opinion. But anyway, back to the topic of tomatoes. So on tomatoes, I've grown lots of different varieties of tomatoes over the years, and I've got some that I come back to all the time. There's some that I had some failed germination this year as I was starting out in my basement nursery. It's not the seed company's fault. It is the fault of I had my trays dry out a little bit on me, or dry out too much on me after planting. And so it was a fail on my side. I know pretty much what caused it. But that being said, the tomatoes that I traditionally like to grow, and I get my tomatoes usually from Territorial Seed Company or Botanical Interests, most of them from Territorial Seed, and most of the kind of more specialty varieties that I like are coming from Territorial Seed. So when it comes to cherry tomatoes, there's a cherry tomato. Of course, there's the Sun Gold tomato, which I do grow, but at this point, Sun Gold used to be more of the exotic variety, right? But at this point, Sun Gold feels kind of like the tried and true, just too normal of a cherry tomato these days. And so I grow one that is called Orange Peruche. It's P-A-R-U-C-H-E. Territorial Seed carries it, and it is an even brighter, just more fully orange tomato than the Sun Gold, and it is just a little bit more sweeter too. And so I'd say that's one that I really like to grow. The other cherry tomato that I like to grow routinely is the Sweethearts tomato, also from Territorial Seed. That one's kind of a grape tomato, but it's a really nice size. It's got like this really like perfectly shiny, glossy red skin to it, so it looks beautiful and it tastes great. And so I like that. I then like to grow a couple of different kinds of currant tomatoes. I think the variety that I got from Territorial Seed was Candyland Red. I'm not particular to the type of variety for a currant tomato. There's also a white currant tomato that I believe I get from Territorial Seed, which I like to grow. And then beyond that, there's a tomato that I grew last year called, it was like a French name, Couve de Bure, C-O-U-V-E, space D-I, and then the last was a word that started with a B. And that was kind of like a mid-sized tomato, and just the look of it was kind of had almost like a kind of a wrinkled look to it, and I liked that look. And so I'm growing that one again this year. Another mid-sized tomato that I typically grow is the Japanese trifle. I really like the coloring of it. It gets kind of a purplish, blackish kind of hue to it. Red, green, purple, black. But it's very kind of dark, and it looks like a plum almost when it grows. And I think it works great for saucing as well as slicing. And I'm not growing it this year though, because that was one of my germination failures earlier on, and I've got plenty of others going on. I typically will grow like one variety of brandywine just for the sake of seeing if I can do it in our climate, and then and often it works. It sometimes doesn't, but it often does work. And I get that picture of like the one perfect big tomato. But the truth is, I don't actually like eating brandywine tomatoes. I'm not a tomato eater of that kind. We use a lot of tomatoes for sauces. I like to do sauces with tomatoes, and so I haven't found what I consider the perfect saucing tomato yet. I mean, I typically use the classic like San Marzano tomatoes, and we're growing many of those. And then this year I just ordered a whole bunch of different varieties that just one called Pomodoro, one called Jersey Devil, one that is some kind of hybrid called the Margarita. I think these were all from Territorial Seed Company. And maybe some variation of the San Marzano, And so, yeah, I'll tell you more about those varieties once I've had experience with them. I'll talk more about them perhaps next year or at the end of this season, maybe once I have more experience with them and I see how productive they are and how well they worked for me, particularly. But yeah, that's what's going on with tomatoes. And otherwise, I'm going to get back to enjoying the day here. Take care, everyone.